True. I was and still am very, very dreadfully nervous. But why say that I am mad? My senses were sharpened by the disease, not destroyed. Above all, my sense of hearing was acute. I heard everything in heaven and on earth. I heard many things in hell. How, then, am I mad? Listen. Notice how calmly and clearly I can recount the entire story. It's impossible to say how the idea entered my mind, but once it was there, it haunted me day and night. There was no object. Passion, too, was absent. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never insulted me. I had no desire for his gold. It was his eye. Yes, it was his eye. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. So, little by little, I made up my mind to take the old man's life and rid myself of the eye forever. You think I'm crazy. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded. Every night at around midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently. When I had made an opening large enough for my head, I put in a dark lantern, closed so that no light escaped, and thrust in my head. I moved it slowly, very slowly, so as not to disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to fit my whole head through the opening. Would a madman have been so wise? Once my head was fully inside, I cautiously opened the lantern, just enough for a thin ray of light to fall upon the vulture eye. But for 7 nights, I found it closed. It was impossible to do the work because it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. On the 8th night, I was especially cautious. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than mine does. I was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped on the tin fastener. Click! The old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there? Who's there?" I kept perfectly still. For an entire hour, I didn't move a muscle. I heard him sit up in the dark and listen to the death watches in the wall. Then I heard a groan. It was the groan of mortal terror. I knew it well. I resolved to open the lantern just a tiny bit. There it was. Open. Wide open! I grew furious as I gazed upon it. Have I not told you that my hearing is too sharp? A low, dull, quick sound came to my ears, like a watch when it's wrapped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. Its rhythm increased my fury, as the beat of a drum stimulates a soldier's courage. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man must have been extremely terrified. I thought his heart would burst. Now, a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's time had come. I yelled and threw open the lantern. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I smiled gaily to find that I had finished the deed. His heart beat on with a muffled sound. Then, silence. The old man was dead. His eyes would trouble me no more. I was efficient. I cut off his head, arms, and legs. I took up 3 planks from the chamber's flooring and placed everything between the scantlings. I replaced the boards so cleverly that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. At 4 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. 3 police officers entered. A neighbor had heard a shriek and suspected foul play. I smiled. What did I have to fear? I welcomed the officers in. I led them to his room. I showed them his treasures, secure and undisturbed. In my perfect triumph and wild audacity, I placed my own chair on the spot where the victim's corpse lay. The officers were satisfied. We sat and chatted, but soon I felt myself growing pale. I wished they were gone. My head ached, and I heard a ringing in my ears. The ringing continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it didn't help. I realized the noise wasn't in my ears. It was a low, dull, quick sound, much like the sound a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath. The officers did not hear it. I spoke more quickly and vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. Why wouldn't they be gone? I paced the floor with heavy strides, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. It grew louder and louder and louder, and yet the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Could they not hear it? No, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were mocking my horror. I could not bear their hypocritical smiles any longer. I felt like I would scream or die. And now, again, hark, louder, louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Hear, hear. It is the beating of his hideous heart.